Okay, I started the recordings. So welcome to the 27th session of the Bhagavad Gita 101 with technology interludes for ages 8 and up. Today is the 26th of December. And as before, we are going to start with the review of the last class. And last class, we covered this sloka. So let's read it or let's recite it.
Yasya sarve samaarambhaah kama sankalpa varjitaah jnanagni daddakarmanam tam ahu panditam buddha.
Karmanam. Jnanagni dagda karmanam.
Jnanagni dagda karmanam.
Tamahuhu panditam buddhaha.
Tam ahu panditam buddha.
So the meaning is, what is the meaning?
The meaning is, whenever you're doing anything, you should be away from selfishness, and your actions should be burned by the fire of knowledge.
And only then they call him a wise sage.
Yeah, that's right. That's important. When this happens, then the person is called a sage. So that's what we covered in the last class. We also covered fuzzy logic. We saw how a set of
Logic yesterday.
Yeah. So we saw how a set of tall people in our math crisp set, it's either 0 or 1. A person belongs to the set of tall people or not. No. But in fuzzy set, there's a membership function. A person can belong to the set of tall people with a membership function to some extent. He need not be completely belong to the tall people set. So it's not 0 and 1. It could take values in between 0 and 1. That's fuzzy logic. And today's sloka is also very important. So the sloka goes like this. So first we will read in English and then in Sanskrit. So follow the mouse, follow the cursor on the screen, and try to say it slightly in a low voice, or in your mind at least, but definitely make an attempt to say it. Brahmaarpanam brahmahavir brahmaagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. Okay, now in Sanskrit, follow the letters carefully. You will start learning Sanskrit letters also, and you will start recognizing letters after a few classes. Brahmaarpanam brahmahavir brahmaagnau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. This is the 4th chapter, 24th sloka.
Is this sloka in the Vishnu
The
Sahasranam?
24th, the 4th chapter and the 24th sloka of the 4th chapter.
Yes, that is right. This is not in Vishnu Sahasranama. There's
They
not.
don't have numbers because I'm starting to understand the numbers.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
we can identify them.
Yeah, just like you can identify the numbers, you'll start identifying the letters in Sanskrit also after a few classes. So the reason Sanskrit letters are a little difficult is because, so this is one word, Havihi brahmaagnau. These are actually two words in English. See, where is in English? Where is it in English? Brahmahavihi brahmaagnau. So in Sanskrit, it becomes a one word. When you combine, many words are combined to become one word. So Havihi plus brahmaagnau. Actually, three words. Havihi brahmaagnau. There are three words in this, one single word. So havihi plus brahma becomes havir brahma. So when that is called a sandhi. When a word ends in aha and gets combined with another letter, then there is a ra sound in the join. So havihi plus brahma becomes havir brahma. And brahma plus agnau, brahmaagnau, it becomes brahmaagnau. Brahma plus agni, agnau, brahmaagnau. So havir brahmaagnau. So it
So
becomes one.
whatever ends with the same. So like if if a word ends with a letter, and another word has R, then it starts with R. The next word starts with an R, and
No, you cannot combine any word with any other word. There are some rules. There are some grammatical rules.
Oh, like conjunctions.
Yeah, conjunction. You cannot combine any word with any word. There are some rules. So, so for instance, Brahma and Havihi cannot be combined together. Brahmahavihi, we can't say like that. So it has to be two different words. So in this case, Havihi plus Brahma becomes Havir Brahma. Brahma plus Agnau becomes brahmaagnau. So like that. So that is what is different with Sanskrit when compared to English.
Does agnau mean fire?
Yes,
Agni?
yes. Agnau means fire. So yeah, Agni is fire. So let us look at the meaning. So the meaning is Brahman is the oblation. Brahman is the melted butter. By Brahman is the oblation poured into the fire of Brahman. Brahman verily shall be reached by him who always sees Brahman in action. So what is Brahman? Do you remember?
Expanding mind.
Yeah, Brah means expanding, Man means mind. So God is Brahman. So in this case, the sloka, Lord Krishna is saying that God is the oblation. What is an oblation? Do you know? So when is melted butter used in puja?
When you're doing like a yagya.
Yeah.
Like incense.
Right. Good. So melted butter is used when you are performing homa or yajna. Right?
that is Brahma.
Yeah. So the melted butter is Brahma. The oblation, whatever you offer in the homa, is Brahman. Oblation means offering.
Wait, but we offer it because we're like sacrificing.
Right.
But we shouldn't sacrifice Brahman because we should be Brahman.
That's what. See, the sacrifice is God. The sacrificer is God. Everything is God there. So that's what he's saying. Lord Krishna. Let us look at the meaning completely. Just hold on to that thought. When we complete discussing the sloka in depth, you will understand the meaning. But yeah, good thoughts. See, just like food is God, right? Annam parabrahma sarupam. So the food that you eat is, yeah, God is everywhere. And annam parabrahma sarupam. The food that you intake is God. Why? Because it is giving you life. And who can give you life? Only God. Yeah, so that is why it is God. But
Can help you survive.
yeah, so you cannot say, oh, you're eating God and all that stuff. So God is, it just the same thing here. God is the offering. God is what is being sacrificed. God is what is the sacrifice itself. God is the person who is doing the sacrifice, and everything that you offer is also God. So that's what this sloka is saying. Let us look at the words one by one. Brahma, is God or spiritual in nature. anything that's spiritual in nature will expand your mind. It is called Brahma, and in this case, it's God. Arpanam means contribution. In most Indian languages, Arpanam means contribution. So you submit, you offer. Brahma again is supreme, supreme, spiritual, expanding mind. All that is Brahma. Havihi means butter. Some last names in India, some last names are Haveri. Did you hear anytime?
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, so they are basically people who offer butter and anyway. So Havihi means butter. Brahma again means spiritual. Agnau means in the fire of consummation. So the fire which is lit for offering to the god. So that is the fire of consummation. Brahmana means by the spirit soul. Hutam means offered. Brahma again means spiritual kingdom. Eva, we covered this word, we came across this word so many times. Certainly. Tena, by him.
Yeah, we know Tina.
Yeah. Gantavyam means to be reached. Ga means, what is the meaning of ga? Moving.
Moving.
Gachati, ga. Ga means moving. Gantavyam means moving towards, to be reached. Brahma means God, spiritual. Karma in activities, actions. Samadhinaha means complete absorption. See, people go to samadhi, you heard, right?
Yeah,
But
somebody.
yeah,
Where they try not to talk for the whole day.
yeah, the samadhis can be of varying degrees. The ultimate samadhi is getting absorbed in the nature. That means, like Sai Baba did.
Like the nature camp.
He was alive and he was buried alive. He went into samadhi. So that is the ultimate samadhi. So people get absorbed in the in meditation and nature and God. So that is ultimate samadhi. But in this case, it simply means by complete absorption. So this sloka again has a very deep meaning. I mean, like all slokas. I mean, all these slokas are really very important. So, so what is a sin? Let us first start with the discussion of what is a sin.
Like a bad thing.
Bad thing?
A bad action done.
Action, right.
Yeah, a bad action.
Action. So when does action become a sin?
When it's done in the when it's not done for goodness.
When it's done in the form.
Yeah, when it's done in the form of badness, ignorance, or passion.
Yeah. So when it is done with a bad intention. So an action which takes you back in the growth of spirituality. Yeah, what is our goal? What is the goal of this life, human life?
To reach God.
To reach God, for liberation, right? So, so we have to grow every minute. We have to grow and move towards our goal. The goal is to reach God. So, if any action pulls you back from that growth, you're walking towards your goal, and any action that pulls you back is a sin, right? That is a sin in any culture. Whether you take any religion, any culture, that's what it is basically. Uh, so the root cause of a sin is desire and selfishness.
All the bad qualities a human can have.
Yeah, so the root cause is selfishness. So action itself is not bad, but the reason.
Based on the action, what action you do will always decide.
Yeah.
What to your life.
Right. So when the reason for the action is selfish and is because of desire, then that action is bad and that action pulls you back and that action can be classified as sin. So how do you do actions and still not get attached to the action?
When the actions are devoted to God in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, yeah, that is right. So it is just like, see, you're too small to have done this, but when you mix flour, you know flour, right, for chapatis and all that. So when you mix flour, it gets stuck to your hand. So what do you do so that it doesn't that it doesn't stick to your hand?
We put flour on it.
Huh?
Wash it with water.
Wash
Or we put flour on our hand so it doesn't stick to it.
You put flour? Okay, how about you bake cookies, right? So, what do you do so that the flour, the dough, does not stick to the pan?
You put oil. That's what my mommy didn't do when she made the puffs. She forgot to put the oil, and as a result, the egg puffs got stuck to the
Yes,
pan.
very good. Very good analogy. You got the point. See, yeah. So even when we make dough with flour with our hands, I mean, we apply oil so that it doesn't stick to our hands. Sometimes we forget, I mean, we are human beings, we forget, and then we get attached. The flower gets attached to our hand, right? So, so just like that, in spirituality, what is the oil that you apply to your actions so that the actions do not stick to you?
Knowledge.
Knowledge, and what else? Where does knowledge lead to? And what is that knowledge?
God.
Yeah, the knowledge of God, the Brahman. So, so when we do all actions and in the form of God, then the action does not stick to us. We do not get attached to the actions. So whenever you want to detach yourself from action, remember this sloka. God is the oil. Just like you apply oil to your pan for baking cookies or puffs or whatever, um, just like you apply oil to your hand so that the flour doesn't stick to your hands, you pray, you follow this sloka so that for every action you follow this sloka so that it does not uh, the action does not stick to you. So
Just like how the dough doesn't stick to the pan.
yeah,
Enter the pan.
yeah. So God is like the oil. So this is the wisdom of sacrifice, right? This is wisdom, right? We are all discussing wisdom, time time tested wisdom. For many years this has stood the test of time. So this wisdom is about sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice in this sloka itself, the sacrifice of results. So here we are substituting everything in our action with God, right? This sloka says that the offering is God, the instruments with which you offer is God, the person who is offering is also God. So everything that pertains to the action is God. You should think like that.
So whatever action you do, God makes you do it. Meaning like whatever decision you make is decided by God.
Yes, exactly. You got the point. So you are doing it for God, by God, of God. You know what is democracy, right? Democracy is what did Abraham Lincoln say about democracy? Democracy is by the people, of the people, for the people, right? So
Only
same,
the people decide.
yeah, only the people decide. So just like that, the whatever we do, is by the God, of the God, and for the God.
Like content.
Yeah, so you should always think that God, everything is God. Then you are not attached to the action. If you think that you are doing it for yourself, then
Then it's called selfishness and
yeah,
yeah,
and it kind of
sin.
pulls you back from the spiritual path.
That is what a sin is, right?
Yeah, that is what becomes a sin. It pulls you back from the path of spiritual growth. So that is the reason. I mean, you can still survive. People make a lot of money by doing bad things. People become rich. People become popular. People may become great by doing bad things. But our
But
goal is, but yeah, but our goal is not to become rich, great, or happy or anything, right? Our
what
goal
is
is,
eternal happiness? Meaning like you
yeah,
don't get
ultimate happiness. Yeah, the
and you
goal of,
won't get you
yeah,
won't your goal.
yeah, you're right. So our goal is for ultimate happiness, not this intermediate short-term happiness, ultimate happiness of getting united with the God. So although this person may be happy, may earn a lot of money, lot of popularity, lot of greatness using bad, by doing deeds which are not completely divine, he has gone back in the path of spirituality, right? So that is the reason why we should never do anything bad. Not because the police is going to do something or the government is going to do something or because the neighbors may feel bad. We don't want to do bad because we don't want to go back in the path of spirituality. We want to constantly grow spiritually, not go back, right?
You want
So,
to improve?
yeah, we want to improve. So the formula for that is substitute everything with God. Everything that you do, everything involved in your doing is God. Think like that. So, so the very idea that all your actions and the result from there, from the actions, are all God, are filled with God. The very idea burns your uh, the results from the action, the attachment from to the actions and the results from the actions. Uh, so when the desire for results is destroyed, actions are no longer selfish, right? So when there's no desire, there's no selfishness. So when you say that everything is God, there's no desire and the selfishness is destroyed.
In like you don't have any sin and you're not doing anything wrong. All you're doing is just in the path of you know, I think
Yeah, you're right. So when the action, when the mode of the action and the material you use for the action are all God, the person who does this action is also God, will become God. So that's what this sloka says. Brahman verily shall be reached by him who always sees Brahman in action. The person who sees Brahman in action will reach Brahman verily. That's what it means. It's an indirect form, but if you convert it into direct translation, what it means is if you see God in every action, then you will reach God.
okay.
So, yeah. So you must think that everything is God. So another example, you keep repeating God's name. So why do people recite Vishnu Sahasranama? See, I had a friend, we used to carpool together. He would not sleep without listening to Vishnu Sahasranama. I mean, I had a few friends like that. Who he would not sleep without reciting Vishnu Sahasranama at least once in a day. And there are in India, I went to, I mean, my friend's home. His dad told me. Um, he told me that I was young that time. So he told me that whenever he drives his two-wheeler on the roads, he always repeats the name of the God.
Oh.
Yeah, he's constantly repeating the name of the God. So why? Because when you repeat whatever your thoughts are, you are basically your thoughts, right? If your thoughts make you steal things, then we become a thief. If our thoughts make us give a speech, a very good speech which is appreciated by everyone, then we become an orator.
What's that?
Orator means great
Talker.
speaker. Yeah, great speaker. Or if our thoughts make us program very well in machine learning, then we become a data scientist, right? It's all our thoughts. So you become what your thoughts are. So if your thoughts are all filled with God, then you become God. So that's what it said. So my dad used to tell me a story. So there was a businessman who was all the time, he was very busy. Did I tell it before? No, right?
Is it the one where when he is about to die?
No, 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 no. So there's a businessman. Uh, so this businessman is very busy. He's a good person, but he's so busy that he doesn't get time to think of God even for a little time. But people, so there are some bad. He goes through some bad times. Yeah. What is
I've
it?
heard this story. I think I know.
Yeah. What is the story?
I don't know if this is the same story, but somebody tells him that like he owns a business, and so one day something happens, and then somebody comes and tells him that he should start reciting God's name.
Yeah.
But he's too busy; he can't find any time. So what he decides is, while he's like in the bathroom,
Right.
he decides to say Rama's name. And hearing that, Hanuman gets really, really mad. So he comes and hits the businessman, and then tells him not to do that because he gets angered that he's not paying Rama any respect. So then he goes to Rama, and Rama's when he sees Rama, Rama's hand is on his cheek like somebody hit him. And Hanuman says, "Who hit this person? I shall punish whoever did this." And then Rama says, "It was you, Hanuman. Whenever somebody is saying my name, he is Rama himself."
Yeah, good. That's the story. Good job. Yeah, you already know the story. So did you understand, Aditi?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this businessman doesn't have time, so he recites God's name when he's in the bathroom and when he's doing all different things like in the toilet and all that. So Hanuman gets angry. He hits him with with his hand, and when he goes to Lord Rama, he sees that Rama's cheek has the stamp of 4 fingers on the cheek. So Hanuman asks, "I'm really, who did this, Lord Rama? Who hit my Lord like this?" And Lord Rama says, "You yourself." Because a devotee who is thinking about me, about God, is the God himself. So that is the story. Another example. Um, if you consume food, I mean, we all eat food, right? If we consume the food thinking that the food is God, the person who is eating the food is God, and the action of eating itself is God, then what happens? It nourishes you. So it really does the food does the job it should do. Like it will nourish you. It will give you life. But you eat food thinking that the food is the most delicious and thinking that you choose only, there are a lot of stuff on the food on the table, and you choose only the things that are the most delicious to you, and thinking that you are going to enjoy the food and all that stuff, those kind of thoughts. What happens?
The food will be delicious, but it won't do the job that it's meant to do.
In fact, it does harm. It does a very, it has a very bad effect on the person. There's a saying in Sanskrit. What is it? Bhojanam, Bhojanam ajirnam visham, I think. That's what it is. So food that is not digested becomes poison. And when you eat,
Actually, I want to tell you something.
yeah,
Whatever is nectar in the beginning becomes poison in the end.
Yeah, the Gita did.
yeah,
I'm in a Bhagavad Gita contest, and so did that one.
yeah, that's right. So it becomes poison. It causes diabetes. It causes high blood pressure. It causes obesity. What?
Obesity? Why do you get high? Yeah, I know that. Like, what's wrong with
High blood pressure can damage the nerves, the veins, the arteries. It can damage the heart. It can cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's the cause most like stroke and heart attack.
Yeah. So when you think that the food is delicious and you eat, what happens is you tend to eat more. And if you tend to eat more, it doesn't get digested. And when it doesn't get digested, any undigested food is just poison.
No, is that why junk food is bad for you?
Yeah, that's the reason why junk food is bad for you. But when you have this thought that the food is God, see, my dad always used to say, my dad, my grandmother, they always used to say, first thing is before eating, we used to say a prayer, which is a sloka from Bhagavad Gita, we will cover later. And then even today my mom does that. Uh, uh, she takes the food to her forehead, prays to the food, and only then eats. So it's a very important thought. Food is God. The action of eating is God, and the person who is eating the food, that is you, is also God. Think like that, then the food does the right thing. Then you will not overeat. You will eat only what is needed for your body, and it will nourish you, right? But if you want to eat food for enjoyment, that's when the problem comes. It takes you back from your spiritual path. That's number one. And the food itself, when it goes inside, it can cause harm. See, diabetes is doctors say that more than stress, the food is a bigger cause for diabetes. Stress is a cause, of course, but more than stress, it's the food which harms diabetics. So food is very important. So diabetes is a state. It's like a, yeah,
the type of food also matters then.
yeah, the type of food and all that. So diabetes is a very strong signal from the God or the body that what we have to control. You should eat the food the way it should be eaten, right? So these are a few examples. You should why. In fact, so that brings us to. Um, so this is the last class of this year, right? The next class will be in the next year. And next year, we are going to change the theme. Like we spent 27 classes in spirituality, right? That is 27 hours. So now we have the eligibility to talk higher things. So we can talk about Vedas, we can talk about Vishnu Sahasranama, The Bhagavad Gita is a very profound philosophy. It's like a purifier. It's the ultimate knowledge. So it has already purified us to some extent. Now we are eligible to talk about higher things like Vedas, Vishnu Sahasranama, and all that stuff. So from next year, what we are going to do is we are going to cover one sloka of Bhagavad Gita. So there are like 4 or 5 weekends, right? 4 or 5 Saturdays in a month. So first Saturday we are going to cover Vishnu Sahasranama. So next Saturday we are going to cover Vishnu Sahasranama. Second Saturday we are going to cover Veda, something from the Vedas. Um, yeah. So
It's about what about the Upanishads?
yeah, Upanishads and Vedas. We'll talk about that in the next slide. Yeah. So some of these hymns that we are going to cover in the Vedas, they appear in multiple Vedas. So, like for instance, Purusha Suktam is from the Vedas. It is originally from the Rig Veda, but it also appears in Yajur Veda.
Okay, so we'll study those ones.
Yeah, we are going to look at those ones. Yeah, Upanishads are basically Vedas are layered. So Upanishad is one of the layers of Vedas. We will cover that in the next sloka, next slide. So that's what we are going to do. So first Saturday, Vishnu Sahasranama. Second Saturday, something from the Vedas. Third Saturday, Vedic mathematics. How Vedas have given mathematical sutras like formulae to compute quicker. So third weekend we will do that. Third Saturday we will do that. Fourth Saturday will be Bhagavad Gita. We'll continue our discussion on Bhagavad Gita, one sloka. And fifth Saturday, if there is a fifth Saturday, we will cover programming, like Python programming, coding. Yeah, I guess so 5.
What about text-based coding? Because I'm already doing it. Because like there's like turtle moves, like the turtle and function parameters.
Yeah, you can use that knowledge for learning Python. So I'll start with Python and then you can see how you can use that knowledge, right? Anyway, it's just the fifth Saturday, which does not occur often in the year. So so we'll cover coding for the fifth weekend. So that's what we are going to do from the next year onwards. So yeah. So as you can understand from this, the key here is to sacrifice your selfishness. When you associate everything with God, yourself is gone, right? So we are sacrificing our selfishness.
Okay.
So that is the key idea in this sloka. It is explained in detail in the next few slokas, which we are not going to cover in this class. But the next few slokas tell different types of sacrifices. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna different types of sacrifices, like you can sacrifice senses and sense objects. So how can you sacrifice? Like you can sacrifice taste, for instance.
Oh yeah.
You can
Like
Gandhari gave up her sense of sight.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, right.
Excellent
Like,
example. See, Gandhari gave up her sense of sight.
But for Dhritarashtra, so that was somewhat given to attachment.
No, it is her duty. She is Dhritarashtra's wife. So wife's duty is to follow the husband. So she followed the husband, not for any selfish reason. So that's an excellent example of sacrificing sense objects. So what are the 5 senses?
Taste, touch, hearing, sight.
Touch.
Yeah. So
touch is the most biggest sensory organ.
yeah. So you can. So people sacrifice these senses and sense objects.
Smell and
When they sacrifice them, they kind of reattach it. Like if you never tasted anything different, then you would never have something that you love, because
Yeah.
any food will taste the same.
Yeah. So Lord Krishna says that that is one form of sacrifice. The other form of sacrifice is the action of sensing. You still keep your senses. Like Gandhari gave up her sights. Eyes were always tied up, right? Blindfolded. But even,
Some people are, I think somebody, I forgot.
yeah,
There's like another person who gave up a sense.
yeah, Kannappa gave up his eye for Lord Shiva, right? You were
Oh,
talking
right,
about,
yeah, Kanappa.
yeah, you were talking about Kannappa in the last class. Yes, Kannappa gave up his eyes. So that is one way. The other way is action of senses. So you still keep your sensory organs, you still keep your senses, but action of sensing, like you don't see anything for a day.
Oh, so like meditation.
Yeah, like meditation. Yeah, that is another form of sacrifice. So these sacrifices lead you to the growth in spiritual path. And then some people sacrifice life energy. What is life energy?
Like,
Oh, they give up their life to, maybe like how.
Mother Teresa dedicated her life to helping
No, life energy. What is the energy that drives the life?
food,
Food and
water, air.
right, food, water, air. So some people practice sacrificing the life energy. So they sacrifice food.
Sometimes they're meant to go. There are like some things that hold their energy, and without it they can't live. So sometimes they sacrifice it, and yeah.
Yeah, so sacrificing the life energy.
It's like
Like when when Shiva drinks the poison, people don't eat for a whole day. Is that sacrificing life
So
energy?
what?
When the day
Shiva.
that Shiva drinks poison,
Yeah,
they don't
fast.
eat for a day.
Shivaratri. Yeah, we don't eat for certain days. In India, even today, many people, like my mom, fast for many days, for multiple days.
What about their health?
Yeah, it takes. In fact, last time I went to India, one of my friends fainted and fell down. Um, his face was all bleeding and all that stuff, and he did not get up for many hours. It was a dangerous situation. You know the reason? They went to the doctor. The doctor made all checkups and all that, and everything was perfectly okay. The reason is because he was fasting. There is something called Kartika Masam in November, where Lord Shiva is prayed. So he fasted all through the Kartika Masam for many days, and that really impacted him. So yeah, people do sacrifices. Even today, people do lots of sacrifices. So life energy is one way to sacrifice. So you heard about food, life energy. What else is life energy? Food, water, air. So did you hear anyone sacrificing air?
No, that's why I was. How can they sacrifice air?
You can
But-
give air, but not sacrifice.
No, you do. There are some people who do that. In fact, right. Right. In fact, there is a belief that a person's life is measured in the number of breaths. So the lesser you breathe, the lesser number of times you breathe, the longer you live. I mean, how can you do that? So the lesser number of times you breathe in a day, the longer you live.
Right, because
How can you reduce the number of breaths in a day?
well, you breathe harder when you get worked up, scared, or just have
Right. When you're
anger.
scared, when you're stressed, when you're troubled, you breathe. Yeah. You could either breathe heavily, faster, or you might forget to breathe at all. One of the two things happen. Okay. So one way to reduce the number of breaths is to reduce stress.
So be peaceful.
Yeah, be peaceful. That is one way. What is the other way? These days, people are talking about it everywhere because of the coronavirus. Can you tell me what that is?
Well, meditation
Meditation,
makes
yes.
you breathe slower, but that's because you're being peaceful.
Yeah, so these days people are saying that breathe deeply. The deeper you breathe, the better your immunity is. Yeah, when you breathe deeply, then then you will take lesser number of breaths. So breathing deep is one of the important techniques.
They also
It's-
tell you to breathe deeply when you're like trying to calm down.
Yeah, so deep breaths will calm you down automatically. They bring you sleep sometimes. In fact, that's what I practice whenever I can't fall asleep easily. That's what I practice. I practice deep breath.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
to monitor
Yeah.
our breath.
So that is our day-to-day life. But there are some people who go to the mountains. They breathe very little. First thing is in the Himalayas, you cannot breathe.
Altitude.
Yeah, that because of the altitude, there's not that much oxygen. So they breathe less. They breathe less and they breathe deep, right? So and they live for long. It has been found that those sages, the people who go to Himalayas and do tapasya, penance, they live for a long time because they are breathing less number of times in a day. They are taking deep breaths, and the amount of oxygen is also less in the mountains. So they are conserving the life energy kind of thing. So that is another kind of sacrifice. So there are many kinds of sacrifice, and some other people sacrifice the wealth. Uh, and some other people take extreme vows. Like you see Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. He,
Bhishma.
yeah, Bhishma is an example.
Oh, that he
Yeah,
won't have any children.
yeah, he took an extreme vow that he will not have any children all his life. That is one sacrifice. So life is must, if you want to grow in spiritual path, sacrifices are very essential.
Yagi.
Yeah, tyagi, Gita tyagi, right? You heard the story of Nachiketa, right? I told you sometime.
The one of who's like, oh right, the one whose father was like sacrificing, and he keeps on hungry and asking, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And his father says, "I am sacrificing you." And so Nachiketa takes it seriously, and he goes all the way to Yama and everything.
Right, very good. So Nachiketa's father is a great sage. So he offers a lot of sacrifices.
But they weren't very good sacrifices.
They weren't
right?
very good sacrifices. Like he would offer a weak and lean cow, which is almost going to die anyway in the sacrifice. Or he would offer things like that, which which we don't use that much. So the son, because he's innocent, right? He goes to the father and says, "Father, why do you do this? I mean, you're sacrificing things you yourself don't want. This cow is almost going to die, and you're offering the cow as a sacrifice. So what's the benefit of that?" Uh, then the father avoids the son. He thinks, okay, this boy is small, he doesn't understand all that, and he avoids him. Second time, third time, fourth time, the boy keeps on pestering. And then the father gets so angry and he says, "You are such a wretched boy. I am sacrificing you. I'm giving you to death." And then the boy innocently asks, "So to whom are you sacrificing me?" Then the father in a fit of anger says, "To the god of death, Yama."
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, so this is nicely picturized in a temple in India, Babs Mandir. So this is called Kathopanishad. Katha means difficulty, right? Kathopanishad means an Upanishad about difficulties. I mean, in difficult situation.
Oh yeah.
You can also think about it as a Katha Upanishad, like a story Upanishad. But I think what it means is Kathopanishad. It's a tough Upanishad. So the discussion between Nachiketa and Yama is captured in this Upanishad. It is nicely picturized in a laser form. In the nights, they do a laser show in that Bab's temple about Nachiketa. I think it's there on YouTube. You can search and watch it. The whole story of Nachiketa captured as a laser show. Right? So sacrifices. So yeah, that's an extreme. That's an extreme sacrifice. The father sacrificed his son to Yama.
And then
Yeah. So the boy actually goes to Yama because the father sacrificed, and Yama was not expecting this boy, right? It's an unexpected guest. So the guest doesn't get food for 3 days. Nachiketa doesn't get food for 3 days in the Yamaloka. Yama is busy with somewhere else. And 3 days later, Yama comes back and sees this boy and says, you're unwelcome guest. You're not in my list. How did you come? Then the boy says, my father sacrificed me to you. So I'm yours. I cannot go back. Then the conversation ensues. So Yama grants the child 3 wishes, and then the 3 wishes and all that stuff. That is all Kathopanishad, right? So, so the next few slokas talk about these sacrifices. You can sacrifice food habits. You can sacrifice the results. The best form of sacrifice is, of course, results, right? Results from the action you sacrifice. And then another sloka after this sacrifices says that. So there are instances where you cannot sacrifice at all. So in such cases, how can you attain God? So suppose you don't sacrifice anything all your life, then how can you attain God? Then Lord Krishna says, by the fire of knowledge, you can cross all the sins by the boat of knowledge. If you have deep knowledge, all your sins get washed. All your the fire, the knowledge is compared to fire in multiple slokas, right? In the past also. So the knowledge, the fire of knowledge burns all sins, all karmas, which are not in the spiritual path, to ashes. So there is no purifier like knowledge. That is the reason why knowledge is compared to fire. It is the ultimate purifier. So Lord Krishna says the same thing. Okay, now we talked about Upanishads, Vedas and all that, right? So let us look at the Hindu literature. So at the center of the Hindu literature, you have the 4 Vedas. And these Vedas are like layers. So you all know the 4 Vedas, right? Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, Adharvana Veda. So Rig Veda and Yajur Veda are what are mostly used in the pujas and our day-to-day lives. And this is what we are going to study for our classes also, mostly from Rig Veda and Yajur Veda. So Yajur Veda has, that also mostly Yajur Veda actually. Rig Veda sometimes, but mostly Yajur Veda. Yajur Veda has a black side and a white side. Krishna Yajur Veda, Shukla Yajur Veda. Shukla Yajur Veda is white. Krishna Yajur Veda is black. Krishna means black.
yeah.
So there are 2 forms. Krishna Yajur Veda is called black because it's not well structured. It's not very formal. So that is, but we some of the most powerful hymns from the Vedas are from the Krishna Yajur Veda. Like the Shiva Abhishekam time, we recite some Vedas, right? So they are from the Krishna Yajur Veda. So we'll cover some of those. And then you find that these are layers. Everything is kind of Vedas, form Vedas. Like there are Brahmanas. So Brahmanas from the previous sloka. See this sloka, Brahmana. We call, what are Brahmanas?
People with like
Ritual. Yeah, that's right. But from this sloka, Brahmana is the oblation, Brahmana is the butter, Brahmana is the yajna itself, the action itself, Brahmana is the person itself. So Brahmanas. are basically they're part of the Vedas. This is another layer of Vedas. It's not separate from the Vedas. They're embedded within each Veda. Each of the four Vedas, there is something called Brahmanas, and these Brahmanas explain how to perform rituals, the homas, the yajnas. So it's all about Vedic rituals. And it also has some amount of astronomy. The Brahmanas contain some amount of astronomy and some amount of geometry, like civil engineering. A lot of civil engineering is there in Brahmanas. And quite associated with the Brahmanas are Samhitas. So this one. So the Samhitas are one of the earliest, oldest portions of the Vedas. It's another layer in Vedas. They are not separate from Vedas. Samhitas are also another layer of Vedas. And these Samhitas contain mantras, the sacred sounds, which are basically praises and prayers. So one of my friends tried reading Vedas long back when we were undergrad students. One of my friends tried to read Vedas, and the first thing I asked him, so what do you think about the Vedas? The first thing he said is that Vedas are full of praises and prayers. I didn't find anything useful for me. That's what, because he was small, we were all small that time, and that's what he said. So Samhita is a perfect example of that. It contains a lot of mantras which are recited during the rituals, and those mantras are mostly the prayers and praises. Like Rudram, you take Rudram is not a Samhita, by the way, but I'm just giving an example. So Rudram, which is chanted during the Shiva Abhishekam, has a praise form, praise part, and a prayer part. So the Namakam is the praise part. We praise the Lord Shiva in all forms, including in the form of a thief. Right? That is the praise part. Then there is a prayer part that is called Chamakam. Shanchame, Mayaschame, Priyanchame. So we pray to the God, asking him lot of boons. We ask him for progeny, like children. We ask him for safety. We ask him for fearlessness. We ask him. So that is a prayer. So like that, Samhitas have mostly praises and prayers. And Samhita, one of the interesting and important practical aspect of Samhita is called Ashtavakra Gita. So Ashtavakra Gita is the conversation that happens between the father of Sita Devi. Who is the father of Sita Devi? Janaka. So Janaka, and there is a great sage called Ashtavakra. So there are a lot of stories in our Hindu culture. Ashtavakra, what does Ashta mean? 8. Vakra means? Yeah, Vakratunda. What does Vakratunda mean?
Vakratunda is Ganesha?
Yeah, Tunda is trunk. Yeah, Tunda is trunk, and Vakra is
What?
how is the trunk? How is the trunk of the Lord Ganesha?
Like
Round or
I said long.
twisted, right?
Yeah.
Vakra means twisted.
Yeah.
So this person called Ashtavakra has 8 vakras, 8 deformities. So in like his hand, our hand is straight, right? His hand would be twisted. His leg would be twisted. So he has 8 deformities. That's why he's called Ashtavakra. And there's a big story behind that. You know why? What? How he became Ashtavakra? So
Yeah.
this one is, you know the story already?
No, actually I didn't read.
Yeah, so this Ashtavakra is a great, remember how are you born in the next birth? Based on your previous karmas, right?
Yeah.
So this Ashtavakra accumulated a lot of good karma. So he was born to a great sage. Um, so the sage recites Vedas. He was reciting Vedas, and this boy, while in the tummy of his mother, hears Vedas from his father, and from various sources, he already knows Vedas. So when his father is reciting Vedas, he catches 8 mistakes in his father's recitation, and he says aloud from his mom's tummy to his dad, "Father, you're reciting the Vedas incorrectly at 8 places."
Did the father hear it?
Yeah, the father hears it, and the child tells exactly where the 8 mistakes were, and then the father gets angry. He says, "You're not even born, and you're finding fault with your father. I'm cursing you to be born with 8 deformities." So that is why he's born with 8 deformities. He's called Ashtavakra, but he's a great sage. His knowledge is unsurmountable. So Janaka, who is the father of Sita Devi, talks to Ashtavakra. He asks lots of questions. So that conversation is called Ashtavakra Gita. It's like Bhagavad Gita, and it's very famous. Even today, there are groups who hold satsangs to discuss Ashtavakra Gita. There's a lot of wisdom in Ashtavakra Gita. So that is part of the Samhita. Okay, we are kind of out of time, so we'll stop here. We'll continue our discussion of the Hindu literature and texts maybe in the next class or something. So next class we are going to, we are going to start Vishnu Sahasranama next class.
Starting from the first sloka or from the 1008?
From the first sloka, Shukla Dharam. Yeah, we are going to cover the meaning, we are going to cover the sloka, we are going to cover, just like Bhagavad Gita, we'll try to take examples and see how we can apply those mantras or those slokas to our daily life and all that. And then just like now, you have to memorize the sloka. Every week, there will be a sloka or a sutra. If it is Vedic mathematics, it will be a sutra. If it is Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, or if it is Vedic mathematics, it will be a sutra. If it is Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, it will be a sloka, or Vishnu Sahasranama, it will be a sloka.
And programming, we have to learn the concept.
Yeah, programming is just 5th weekend, right? So, yeah, you have to learn the concept. But for these 4 weekends, 4 classes on Vedas, Vishnu Sahasranama, Vedic math, and Bhagavad Gita, you have to memorize a sloka, just like now. Okay? Okay, any questions?
Is a sutra like a lesson? Because at the end of like a moral, like how to do the thinking, because at the end of each lesson in the Vedic mathematics that you got from India, they say what's the sutra that means.
Right, sutra is like a formula. So every Vedic mathematics is full of sutras. So we'll cover those sutras. How and see how they are going to help us do math faster, much faster. We can become a computer like Shakuntala Devi and so many others, right? Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay, then let us do our concluding prayer and conclude the class. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti
Shantihi. Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Samasta sammangalani santu.
See you next Saturday.